All right, so this is our video lecture on hospitality management, the introduction to hospitality. The word hospitality comes from the French term meaning hospice, which means to provide care, shelter for travelers. And back in the day, that's what it was. It was to provide care or shelter. They would have stagecoaches that they started to have little restaurants that people could kind of have a rest stop, have a little coffee, have a little break, have a little social while they are traveling. And that's what restaurants and coffee shops and hotels have become. They provide care, they provide shelter. And that's what we do. We provide, being a chef, we provide care through food. I show my love through the food that I give. And that's the one thing that I know to be true is think about when you are cooking something special for your friends or your family, and the love and the kindness and the joy that goes into it, and then the excitement of giving it to them and watching that first, them go, oh, this is so good, and you're like, oh, and it melts your heart and it makes you feel better and you want to do it over. And that's why we're chefs. That's why we're in the hospitality industry, because we love to serve people. We love to give service. And that's what this is. The pineapple there is hospitality. The sign for hospitality is the pineapple. So that's why you'll see a lot in the southern cities. You'll see in front of hotels or old estates, you'll see pineapples. And that's because it's the sign of hospitality. So I always love that. Not everybody knows that, but I think it's cool for us to know. The Sumerians, in ancient times, they had taverns. The taverns they kind of sprung up everywhere. They were, and that's where the locals would relax. In Greece and Rome, the Code of Hammurabi was written down to impose penalties for plotting crimes in taverns. So people are drinking beer and plotting crimes. But the other code is that they also, if you watered down the beer, they impose the crime and the death penalty for that. So people are still all about their beer. Now it's just IPAs. But the Romans built inns about 25 miles apart so that people, as they were traveling, they had a place to go. I mean, think about it. Today we can hop in the car and drive 1,000 miles in a day. That's a long day, but you can drive 1,000 miles in a day. But back then, if they got through 25 miles, 30 miles a day, that was a lot. So that's why they had those rest stops. The first business lunch was the idea of the Romans in 40 BC. Charlemagne established rest houses for the pilgrims. And that's, I talked about the stagecoaches that they would kind of stop in between. Definitely was popular in England. Eating places called an ordinary were taverns serving a fixed price meal. So what's a fixed price meal? A fixed price meal is usually any kind of prefixed or fixed price is going to be where you'll have maybe a salad or a soup, and then an entree and a dessert, and then a drink is involved in that. Think about, great example, McDonald's. Fast food does it all the time. They have the fixed price. You can get a burger, french fries, and a drink for a set price. In a restaurant, it's going to cost you a little more, but you'll have prefix menus, fixed price menus. Usually I have those when I'm doing special events, like Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve. I've done those fixed price menus where, I have a 4-6 course meal and it's, $75, $150 per person. So you have those. Coffee houses began to spring up. Gotta love a coffee house. And they were the place for social and literary. And think about today. I mean, whoever would have thought, I know in my lifetime, I would have never thought that Starbucks would have come around and everybody wanted to pay $6 for a drink. And I love my Starbucks, don't get me wrong. But I do it maybe once a week. I have friends that will have Starbucks 2-3 times a day. And that can become very expensive. So, you know, today the things have changed from what it was 50 years ago for, you know, paying $2 for a cup of coffee to $6 for a nice latte. You know, so it's everybody has their different, but I think it's also like a social place too. I know that, you know, when I was in college, we would meet, hey, let's meet at Starbucks and we'll sit around, have some coffee. So we're still doing that this day. We're still having that social, you know, except right now we're not having any social. I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are being safe and you know, kind of distancing from people. I know it's hard. You know, I have to be careful because my mom lives with me. So, you know, I have to be really careful with, don't want to get her sick. But we're doing good. We're safe. I hope you guys are safe and your family and your friends are safe. So, just know that I'm thinking about you. Anyways, detour. So in the New World, you had in the 1600s, the Coles Ordinary, the Hudson's House, the Stat House. These houses were just because they became houses where it was a hotel and a restaurant. You had the taverns where George Washington maintained the Revolutionary headquarters. John Adams, second president, owned a tavern. French Revolution, we talked about that yesterday. I talked about how the aristocrats and the nobility, how they, you know, you had the two different classes. You were either, you know, had a lot of money, or you had the really, really poor who served the class. So the French Revolution was where they cut off their heads and they said, we're not going to take it anymore. And so that's where things started to change. And a lot of chefs lost their job as the nobilities lost their heads and their titles. And then that's when you started to see the migration to the United States, and you started to see the chefs start to open up their own restaurants. Many migrated to the New World. Huge French influence is New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I love their food. I lived there when I was a kid. And, you know, they have a huge French influence there. And the food is just spectacular. But a lot of them migrated there. They introduced sauces and other flavorful dishes. So you got to love that. One of the first great cookbooks was Antoine Carême's La Cuisine Classique, detailing numerous dishes. We talked about that yesterday. Escoffier did the Le Guide Culinaire. And again, a lot of us chefs have that book, and it doesn't have any recipes. I mean, it has the recipes, but it doesn't have any measurements in it. So 35 restaurants in New York have celebrated their 100th anniversary. So, you know, a lot of restaurants opened up, and they still are around. It might be a third, fourth, fifth generation that is running those, but these restaurants are still around. In the 20th century, you started to see the hotel motel, the fast food, and the coffee shops start to come up after World War II. In the 80s, you saw hospitality, travel, and tourism expand because of the baby boomers. And it expanded, and everybody started to travel. You had more restaurants. People were eating out more. Because back then, again, as I told you, you know, you didn't have the two income families. One person was at home, usually the mom was at home, and so the dinner was cooked. You didn't have, here, we're going to go run out to dinner. My sister, they eat dinner out 5 times a week because her husband's the stay-at-home dad. And, you know, so, I mean, it happens like that where, you know, people eat out more than they cook. I have a lot of friends, they have no idea how to cook. They can't boil water. It's crazy. So our industry is just growing. Right now you're seeing a huge influence of private chefs and people doing their meal plans and stuff like that and selling it to people because people don't want to cook. They have no time. I mean, if you look at the family these days, the kids get out of school and then they're running around to different clubs or sports events, and then, you know, they get home at 7, 8 o'clock. Who's got time? And the mom and dad have been working all day. You know, who's got time to cook? Who's got time? You know, unless they throw it in a crock pot. So usually it's, you know, drive through someplace and pick something quick up. So, you know, it definitely has changed. After 9/11, the economic recovery proved very strong. But when 9/11 happened, I will tell you, the industry just bottomed out. I'll never forget that day. I was working at a resort in the North Georgia mountains, and I was down in Atlanta hanging out with some of my friends, and that's when the towers came down. And, you know, I went, oh, geez, this is going to be crazy. And what happened was, you know, for us, the corporate travel became very slow, and people stopped flying. People stopped, you know, the big corporate conferences that they would have. Oh, here we're going to go to California. Here we're going to go to Atlanta. You know, they're flying everybody in from all these different cities all over the country. All became where they canceled all those, and it became, how can we drive? And so when I was at the resort, what happened is Atlanta, which is a huge hub for a lot of big corporations, they all started to come to our hotel, our resort, to have their corporate meetings, because we were a 2.5 hour drive from Atlanta. So all of a sudden we got busy, but it took months. It probably took a good 6 months for you to really kind of start to see the industry start moving up again and getting busy, and travel, you know, people weren't so frightened. So that changed things. And then you have the future of hospitality. Hospitality industry, it's an exciting place to be. It's fascinating. It's fun. It offers competitive pay, and it offers advancement opportunities. And here's the thing. If you want to move up, you can. If you're a hard worker, you can move up pretty easy. If you show up on time, if you're happy to be there, joyful, you know, it is an industry where things are changing and growing and moving, and things change from day to day, week to week. And you just never know. You never know what's going to be different. And that's why, you know, I say, you know what you know and you know what you don't know, because everything is changing. You always want to grow. You always want to. You don't know the next thing. I mean, I have students from 13 years ago that went to school with me up in Atlanta. And these students of mine, they're executive chefs. They're opening up their own businesses. They're calling me up and going, hey, chef, this is what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, my God, that's cool. Well, tell me about it, you know. So you really just see, you never know who you're going to learn from. And you always got to be open to it. If you're open to growing and changing and knowing that you don't know it all, then you'll do very, very well. If you're one of those that I know everything, you're not going to do very well. And you're going to stay stuck. A lot of people stay stuck. They don't grow. They don't change. They don't improve their skills. For me, I'm always constantly trying to create and improve my skills. The hospitality industry works to create memories. Everyday guests rely on us. Passion is our element, and we love the wow factor. I love giving the wow factor. If I don't go wow, then why would my guests do that? I'll tell you, I'll work on my sauces for hours, and I'll taste it and season and taste and season and taste and season and taste, and then I go, oh, that's good, and then I'm good. But until I get to wow or ooh, it's not ready yet. But you got to think about this. The hospitality industry we are creating memories. So people come in and they sell, you know, you go to a restaurant. Why do they go to restaurants to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, hanging out with friends. You're creating memories. You're a part of something very special. And when you're a part of something special, you get to bring your creative menu, your creative food to that. And all of a sudden it makes the moment. And people will tap into that memory. And those memories is what they remember. And they go, oh, I remember when, we went here and we had this entree. I can remember when I was 10 years old, we were living in Colorado, and we went for my birthday, my parents took me to this restaurant. It was called The Bank, and it was in the vault underneath a bank. And we got this huge bowl of shrimp, and I still remember it to this day. So I think it's remembering the memories, and it brings smiles, and it warms your heart. And that's what we do. We give that to other people through our food and through our hospitality, our service. It's always, I believe that service is knowing what somebody needs before they even know. When I waited tables, I loved, it was refilling something before they even knew that they needed it refilled. Today, it's a different ballgame. I go out to dinner, and it's like, are you gonna fill up my water? It gets all the way, there's none, and you're sitting there for 10 minutes with nothing to drink. So service today is different, and I promise you that people don't like it. You can go to a restaurant and the food is excellent, but if the service isn't any good, people won't go back. If you go to a restaurant and the food is mediocre and the service is incredible, people go back. Because people love to be doted on. People love you walk in and, hey, how are you? It's so good to see you. How's the family? Think about Cheers. Why did everybody go to Cheers every day? Because they went to that bar because everybody knew them. Everybody knew who they were. It's knowing that. Pineapple has enjoyed a rich and romantic heritage as a symbol of welcome, friendship, and hospitality. I told you about that. Pineapples were brought back from the West Indies by the early Europeans. The time of the pineapple that became the flavored fruit of royalty and the elite. So, it was a symbolize of royalty and elite. Today, it symbolizes hospitality. So you have that. Hospitality employees have the ability to affect human experiences. And here's the thing. Think about, and not just going to a restaurant or a hotel. Think about just going and going to a store, and how the moment of truth either left a lasting impression of positivity or a lasting impression of negative. I can't tell you how many times I have walked into a store, they don't say hello, people are on their phones, I come up to get rang up, and they're talking on the phone. I'm like, excuse me, you're working. I don't say that in my head. I just go, okay, never come back here again. But service is not there anymore. And the thing that I would tell you is people want service. And I promise you, it's not going to be tolerated. And a lot of people don't go back to those places, and they lose business because of that. So it all is in the people that you hire. It's in the people, who's the extension of you. And that's why we whenever I cater, whenever I do private events, I look and see who do I want to be an extension of me. Because who's going to be serving people? I want them to be doing what I'm going to do. Hey, how are you? I'm so excited to see you. Oh, we got this great dish and da-da-da. If I don't have somebody doing that, they're not the extension of me. If somebody's going, hi, how are you? People don't want that. And people will not want me, because, and so you got to know that. You got to know that, at 90% of the game is just being happy and joyful and passionate and excited about the things that you do. And if you do that, people want to jump on that train. People get excited. People are like, ooh, I want your food. I want to try it. I want to be a part of it. And that's what gets exciting. So, the expressions, everything, when people walk in the door, think about it. Welcome to Moe's. Everybody loves that now. When it first opened up, it was like, welcome, because nobody was doing that. Nobody was doing that. Think about Chick-fil-A. That, hi, they're always so, they greet well, they're upbeat, so, the successful places are doing these things again. They're the guest encounter, and it's how you're going to encounter them on the phone. Hey, how are you? Or hi, what do you want? What do you want? Excuse me. It's all in every moment. It's in every step that you touch somebody's life. And it's touching people's lives, because you know what, at the end of the day, you never know what's going on in somebody's head. You never know if they're having the worst day of their lives. They could have just come from the hospital and somebody had died. And you know what, if you're like, hey, how are you, so good to see you, oh my God, da 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 da, and you can't be fake about it. It can't be like, hi, how are you? It can't be that. It has to be genuine. It has to come from that within. And you touch people's lives. You change people's lives. You change people's moods. I mean, I've seen people, they're like, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And they're like, hi. and you know what? It shakes them a little bit. Wake up. So I don't know. I love the industry, but I love people. And you cannot, here's the thing. There's a lot of chefs that they don't like people and they don't want to go out front. They don't want to talk to their guests. They don't do guest service well at all. And they know that about themselves. So where do they stay? In the kitchen. Now you have some great chefs that, you know what, they love people. And if you love people, you need to show your face, because people love that. People love the hospitality chef who really is all about talking and sharing stories and listening. And listening is everything, because I can sit here and talk all day, but you know what? When I'm with my guests, I got to sit and listen, because they want to talk. They want to tell me, oh, I did this, and oh, I did that. Great, awesome. And sometimes you're like, but you can't. You got to be like, yeah, oh, okay. So international. So your managed services, food services are provided for airlines, military facilities, schools, healthcare operations, businesses. And you have the institutional food today. And I think the institutional food has gotten much, much better. But again, you can order anything you want already cooked. I can get I told you guys about Jason's Deli. You can get a piece of salmon already grilled and fully cooked, and all I got to do is put it in the microwave. And now you can put it on your salad. You don't even have to have a grill in your restaurant. So you can get a piece of chicken already fully cooked with grill marks on it. And guess what? That you just heat it up. So you can get rice already prepared. You can get potato. I mean, this world today is that you can really get anything you want. If you don't want to make it, somebody's making it someplace and producing it. And that's just how it is. You have the restaurant business fulfills guests' diverse needs and wants. And here's the thing, that you have every kind of restaurant today. You have the fast food, the fast casual. Fast casual would be where Applebee's, Chili's, you have upper scale. Here you got Edgar's, which is more of your upper scale, where the farm to table, if you will. If you've never been to Cadwallader's is a great restaurant, and it's expensive. I'll tell you that. I took my mom for dinner, and it cost me about $200. The entree was around 50 to 70. We definitely got an appetizer and dessert. So. And that had no alcohol in it. I know, yeah, $200, because my tab was probably about $150, and I gave a $50, $60 tip. No, I'm sorry, $150, about a $75 tip. No, I'm sorry, $30 tip, $40 tip. So I always tip 20%. So if you're ever waiting tables and you're in a higher end restaurant, guess what? If the tab is $100, you get 20. If you're in a small scale restaurant and the tab is $20, you get 4. So I like waiting on. I liked making money. I was a money maker. Woo! I was a money maker. That's a whole nother story. All right, so where are we at? Characteristics of the industry. Services are most tangible. Test the drive-ins. a night stay at a restaurant. You know, it's tangible. Is the bed comfortable? How do you like the shower? You know, when I worked for the Westin, they had the heavenly bed. Everybody loved the heavenly bed. It was the most comfortable bed, and it had full of pillows and, you know, the down comforter. And I mean, it was a nice bed, you know. But that's what they were known for. It's finding those things that make you stand out. And when you find that and people want that one thing, they're going to go to you. They're going to come to you every time. The philosophy, it's ever changing. And every manager has a different philosophy. Some managers are do what I say, not what I do. Love that one. You have some managers that like to manage from their office. That's a great one. Or you have some managers who, you know what, are out there in the forces with you, working hard, and right alongside you, that you're not alone. And that's the manager that I always was, and I always will be. Because at the end of the day is you're as good as your weakest link. And I believe that. And I believe that, you know what, nobody is better than a job. You know, so, you know, for me, I'll wash dishes, I'll scrub floors. You know, I have students who are like, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, you're not going to go very far. If you can't clean, you can't cook. That's my motto. If you don't want to clean, don't bother to cook. You know, so you got to like to clean. There's going to be corporate philosophies where the philosophy of the corporation, it's their values, it's what they kind of lean on, if you will, and it's what they attach everything to, and that drives them. You know, so it's knowing that. And there's some great corporations out there. You know, approximately 70% of the Americans are in the service industry. It is an age of service. It is people are loyal to services. But I'll tell you this: if something better comes along and you're not competing with it, they'll go to the next one. And that's how it is today. Today is they're not as loyal as what they were 20 years ago. Like I see it with my nephew. My nephew, he's different brands all day long. At first it was Nike, and then it was, what is it? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can see it. I can't even think of it. But it was another brand, and then all the different shoes, and you know, I mean, he jumps from one brand to the next. There is no loyalty, but then he'll spiral back around, and Nike, look what they're doing now. So, you know, who knows? I just go whatever. Do what you do good, and guess what? People will stay. You have your internal customers, who are the people inside your company. And I'll tell you, you have the internal customer and the external. The external customer is the customer who comes and pays. The internal customer is the person you work with, you know, and they're a customer, and you need to take care of them. I firmly believe in this day and age, people do not take care of their internal customer. If your internal customer is not happy, they will not be a happy employee. So you need to make sure that, you know what, that there's no friction. There's no, how can you make it a happy place to be? Who wants to walk into a place where the manager's like, hey, how are you? Yeah, just another day. You know, nobody wants to work there. You know, I love going to work. Hey, how are you? How's everything? Because you know what? That's how it is. I love doing what I do. So, you know, you got to treat your internal customers, because they'll leave. They'll leave quicker than you know. Now, it used to be, again, talking about loyalty, 20 years ago, people just stuck it out. Now, no, they don't. If they don't like it, they'll leave. They'll leave. And then that's your turnover, and that becomes very expensive, because, you know, training people costs about anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 for a new hire. So, success in the service is focus on the guest. You know what? If you focused on the guests, they'll always come back. You know, are you going to make mistakes? Yeah. I've had places that they screwed something up, But they owned it. They said, you know what? Hey, we screwed it up. And I was good. I was fine with that. I've had places, I'll never forget, I went out to eat once, and I ordered a ribeye because I love me a good ribeye. They brought the plate, and I went, that's not a ribeye. And the server goes, yes, it is. And I go, oh, no, it's not. Take that back to the chef. And all of a sudden, not even 2 minutes later, here comes the plate again. The chef says it's a ribeye. And I go, you tell the chef that I'm a chef, and that's not a ribeye, and you better take that back. And I normally do not do that, but I was pissed, because I'm truth in menu. Tell me, if it's not a ribeye, then don't have it on the menu. So I'm like, you need to have the chef come out here, and the chef would not come out. So finally, the manager comes over, and he's like, ma'am, is there an issue? And I said, yes, this is not a ribeye. I know what a ribeye is. I'm a chef. I'm a 4-star hotel resort chef. I know what a ribeye is. That's not it. I don't know what this is. Looks like a sirloin, but it's not a ribeye. And he was like, well, the beef has gotten expensive, and we just, and I went, exactly. That's all I needed you to say is, nope, it's not. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Don't tell me I'm the asshole. Oh, I'm not. Don't tell me I'm that. You are. And I just was, I looked at him, and I was like, okay. And after that, I just went, whatever. And I ate it. They didn't even take it off my bill. They charged me for it. I was like, oh my God, you people suck. Guess what? I walked out of there going, you'll be closed in 6 months. When were they closed? 6 months later. Yep. You know where Oliviana's is now? That's where it was. I think it was a Spotted Cow or something. It was crazy. But you got to focus on the guests. Are they always right? No. But you know what? Sometimes they are. Sometimes you got to own it. Understand the role of the guest and the contact with you and the employee and the guest. Weave a service culture into education and training. You want to train your people. You know what? Make your people better so that when they leave you, they're going to go to bigger and better, because their success is your success. I firmly believe that. I've always looked at anybody. Hey, if you can move up, I'm so proud of you. Go do it. Awesome. But if you're not, don't go to a job that you're going to make less money from where I am. At least, make the same amount. So I don't know, but you know what? People will take other things when they're miserable. And you know what? And that's on them. Emphasize high touch. That's weird. Emphasize high touch instead of just high tech. Okay, you want to touch people's lives, and that's what it means. Yeah, everybody's doing techie. Think of the tablets now at restaurants, all of that. But you want to have touch points. You want to have touch points that you meet the guest, you greet them by so long, you have the drink out by so long, and that there's some sort of personal conversation in between each one. And then thrive on change, because everything is changing and growing, and you got to just change. You got to be able to change. You got to be able to grow. All right. The rest of it, you can look at the different about Disney, the different careers. I don't like going over 30 minutes. It's about 33 minutes. All right, so this is your hospitality. Again, your paper is your questions, homework questions are due tomorrow, and you have a quiz tomorrow. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.